So H1Z1 released its alpha stage today after a night of predictable server issues, which have become the stock expectation of anticipated multiplayers. Now, I'm annoyed and I'm disappointed, but not with Sony or Smedley or even the game, but with myself, although that's not true, I am annoyed at the game. I got caught up and beaten by the hype, and perhaps you'll see now why I loathe hype quite so much. I haven't been a huge fan of the survival asshole simulators, which are these kind of open world sandbox things, mainly because they're largely unconstructive kill on sight fests. Now, with H1Z1, it obviously would be no different, but perhaps, just perhaps, it could bring something new, something better to the table. But that was until the bombshell landed today that its in-game airdrop system would provide equipment, resources and even weapons will be available on request of the player for, of course, a small cash fee. A little microtransaction. Now SME are falling over themselves today to calm the damage. But no matter how you dress it up and state that anyone can loot the drops or that they could contain a random assortment of items or it will attract zombies because it's very loud, all of these things, you know, so far in the videos that I have seen, people get weapons every single time with these paid for drops. Okay, now it's early days, they could choose to change this, but they also could not choose to change it. Also, in some video clips from like 2014, they were talking about this and they stated absolutely clearly. They said, are you going to be able to pay for weapons and things like this? No, they stated it was only going to be cosmetic items. You wouldn't be paying for weapons and items. Now, from what I understand, they had a meeting the day before. This is from what I have heard anyway, this is not substantiated. They had a meeting before the game actually came out, just before, and then have changed their policy on it. And I think it's outrageous that in the first day, whenever all the hype was building up and everybody wanted, and I got caught up in it as well, and then they make a decision and they change it back around. Now let's be clear on some points of this. Right now, H1Z1 is a pay to get early access to the alpha. Many things could change. They could remove these weapons and ammos from the drops. Like I said, they could not do that as well. But H1Z1 is meant to be a survivalist game of sorts, and it's vastly disappointing to see them not only going against the grain with this, but their quite strong early statement. They said that you will not be paying for weapons, for food and for ammo, that this would go against the fundamental, the elements of the game, and that it would just suck. They actually said that. They said that to do this, what they have done now, they said this would go against the game. It's the whole point of what you're supposed to be doing, so why pay for it? It doesn't make any sense. So for them to have turned it back around like this is just ridiculous. The crux of the issue though is that however they spin it, they have changed it. They have changed this release into a pay-to-win model. And it's very important to remember that it will ultimately be also a free-to-play game. So far from going back on its weapon drops for cash policy, it might in fact at full time be worse. They might actually tailor it more towards requiring it. Right now they've got stuff all over the place so that people can pick things up and kind of get to grips with the game, and they want to find out how they can make it better. When the game actually gets to a full release, when it's going to be free to play, they might make it more difficult to find these items so that you are more encouraged to use the airdrops, because after all, that's the free to play, that's the pay to win model. That's how these games make their money, by encouraging you, making it frustrating. Just look at games like Candy Crush. Okay, Candy Crush is not a skill-based game. Candy Crush, people think that, if you're very skillful, you can crack through it. But Candy Crush, the way the game is tailored, it's like a fruit machine. It's like a gambling machine. They work it out so that you have just enough sort of feeling of achievement, and then you get stuck. And they design it in a way so that that happens, so that you feel compelled to purchase because you're frustrated. And a game like H1Z1, if it has that kind of model, that pay to pick up equipment model, that's what they're going to do. They're going to make it so that it is frustrating to find things, no matter what they say. Don't listen to what they say. Think about how these games work, okay? You think they're not going to tailor it to work in that fashion? Come on, seriously. Now, I sadly will be taking up the offer from SOE for the refund for the game. I'll let you know how that goes. I'll let you know if it's a fast process or whether they drag their heels. I'll come back to you with that one. Now, in the end though, you're responsible for the purchases that you make. I am responsible for this purchase, and if I couldn't get a refund, that would be my own tough lesson to learn. I personally feel that changing your policy on a contentious issue like the airdrops the day after selling people alpha access is not a favourable one to make. Because ultimately, like we said, doesn't matter how you spin it, doesn't matter how you turn it around, you are giving people the opportunity to pay to have an advantage over others. It's not the same as some other microtransactions. It's not like Battlefield where you can buy those little upgrade packs which allow you to access the weapons, because Battlefield doesn't work in the same mechanics, okay? With Battlefield, you can just go into a game with any weapon and you can do pretty reasonably. And also it's fast, you know, you can just get on with it, it's fine, you're in the game. Some people feel frustrating because, you know, you don't get to level up through that way, but some people can't do that. Now, you could make the argument that it's similar to H1Z1, or imagine if this was in DayZ, that hey, you know, you don't have a lot of time to be running around, and so you want to call that in and just get some action going on with the gameplay. But the trouble is, with something like H1Z1, the whole point of the game is to run around and, you know, find these items, find these equipment, and then sort of work or engage with other players in whatever way. So by calling in that airdrop, you're just giving people an unfair advantage. Now they say that yes, it's supposed to be random, but literally I have seen so many today that are just giving people weapons, different things, whether it's the AR weapons, whether it's the shotguns, whatever. They're pretty much finding a weapon and ammo every single time. So for me though, it's not even so much about that for me. Honestly, it's really not, because I feel very much like you could play the game and you could have fun. And you know, like I should point out, I haven't even got to playing the game really, because I have watched lots of videos, I have watched people streaming the game. I've got a pretty good feel of how it looks. I'm also pretty disappointed with how it looks. It doesn't look anything like as good as I imagined, even for this early stage. The screenshots and images that they were putting around look far different to what we're actually seeing in the game. So that was a bit of a bother for me as well. But also, with this actual issue, like I say, it's more of a principles issue. I just think it's a really bad way to go, to tell people one thing just literally a couple of days beforehand, telling them quite stark, no, this won't be the way, it won't be in the game. And then literally the day after release, before a lot of people have even had the opportunity to play, remember, because of all the server issues. And again, you know, we know this always happens at releases, so, but with all these server issues happening, and then they drop that, like, oh, by the way. And something else that they've been doing today is pretty much kind of lauding it and boasting about how few people have taken them up on this refund offer. Like, oh yeah, it's only been 30 people so far. Smedley, only about 20 minutes ago before I started recording this, was stating on Twitter that only 0.5%, that's 0.5% of people who purchased the game have actually taken them up on the refund. Now personally, one, I'm kind of spurious about that. I'm not sure if I fully believe that, but also, I think that's not a good statistic to be throwing around. Saying, oh, by the way, this game where we told people it was going to be this, but actually it's not, only a small percentage have asked for a refund, that feels to me like those people haven't been informed, or they haven't seen it, or they didn't know that this was happening, or perhaps they just are too ignorant about what has actually changed in the game and they've not been watching what's happening to realise that this is going to be an issue. Maybe further down the line they're not going to be too happy about it. So I actually think it's not a good statistic to be banding around, to be sort of boasting and saying, oh yeah, look, despite all this huge rah rah rah, of course they're trying to do damage limitation, of course they want people to play and buy their game, but I don't think it's really a good line to be taking myself, because I feel it's just kind of like highlighting the fact that a lot of people who are frustrated about this haven't, you know, taken it up on it. What's the reason for that? Either they don't know, or they just haven't seen it. I'm not really on board with that either. I think it's not only a bad practice, I think it sets a bad precedent. It concerns me if that's how they're doing this now, where is it going to go to? And so that's the reason really why I'm just like, bam, I'm done, I'm out. You know, I don't want it. I have got a stack of games to play. I have got so many games to play. I have so much content to be making. Hardline is coming up. I've been enjoying Armour. There's Star Citizen. There's all the stuff I do for my other gaming channel. There's the streaming. There's just so much that I can be getting up. There's all the Warhammer stuff. I've got Warhammer stuff. I've got so much to do there. And there's new games coming out for that all the time. So I've got a hell of a lot of content. And I can quite honestly, perfectly do without this bullshit. You know, I don't need this. I don't need this kind of sort of people dropping this stuff on you like, oh, by the way, the game that you thought you're going to be playing, actually we're going to give them an advantage over. So, you know, hey, imagine I'm playing for an hour and I run around, I'm trying to find some items, and this guy next to me gets a drop and comes over the shotgun and blows the crap out of you. Oh, thanks very much for that. But they've also had this attitude at the moment of this kind of like, get out of here. You know, like, hey, you don't want to play the game, you're not interested, just get out. Well, you know, I am. But there seems to have been this thing going on of kind of like, yeah, we're not interested in you if you don't want it, just get out of here. Let us get on with it. Let the rest of us who know it, let us just get on with the game if you don't want to play with us. And it's kind of like, okay, but you know, I actually really wanted to play your game. I was interested in it. And because of this issue that you have brought along, that's why I don't want to. It's not that I didn't have any faith in the game, it's just that you have made a change. But they have this tone of kind of like, yeah, you know, let us get out of here so that, you know, the rest of us can get on with what it is that we're doing and make the game really good. And it's like, okay, great. You know, look, if you like the game and you're happy with this being in the game, go for it. Get on, enjoy the game, have fun. I'm sure that it will work out perfectly well for you and you won't be frustrated when somebody comes along and shoots you in the back with a weapon that you wouldn't have been able to find because they have paid for it. I'm sure that will be just totally fine for you. But seriously, it's like, yeah, I am going to go and I am going to do other things. So yeah, please do. Get on and enjoy finding all the bugs, making the game whatever it is that's not DayZ, and you know, I'm sure that when the game comes out and is finally finished in its free-to-play model, that these pay-to-win issues will not be there. I am sure that any free-to-play game will be completely balanced and fair, and that, you know, you could just get on and play in a free-to-play way and you won't have to invest any money in if you want to play it for free or you want to have like premium perks. I'm sure that that'll be totally balanced, because as we know, all free-to-play games work in that way. You know, if you have a free-to-play game, you never have to feel frustrated enough to purchase anything, because you know they're designed for people that just want to play free games. That's how they are. So I'm sure that that's what this will be as well. I don't know. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on this one, guys. I'm dropping it in. I just wanted to give you an update. I want to let you know what's going on here. That's an explanation why I won't be playing the game. I'm done with it. I'm out.